This story I'm about to tell you is absolutely true, although it did not occur in my house, but in my aunt's house. The house is 2 stories and backs onto a graveyard. The first event that took place, my cousin was very sick and couldn't make the trip up to her bedroom. So my aunt has one of those sofa beds. My cousin was 5 at the time, so she really didn't like the idea of sleeping down in the living room all by herself. So my aunt said she would stay down with her the entire night. Around 11:30, my cousin was watching a television show. My uncle had just come down from the upstairs when the cellar door slammed shut hard, but no one was within 15 feet of it. Since my aunt only told me the story recently, I asked her if she had any more stories. She told me many, but I'll only tell a few. One day, my aunt was watching television when she noticed something out of the corner of her eye. She said she saw a very small, dark figure, about 3 or 4 feet tall, and its eyes were red and shined like rubies. Upon looking at it, she said it ran into the kitchen, which was about 5 feet away. A second later, she said she heard some growling coming from the kitchen. This frightened her so much that she ran to her car and went out and didn't come home for the rest of the afternoon. Not long after that, my cousin said she saw the same dark ruby-eyed figure standing outside of her bedroom door in the upstairs hallway. About a month later, my aunt told a neighbor about the occurrences in the house. The neighbor told my aunt that a little boy who she remembers as being around 4 feet was killed in front of the house when he was struck by a car. My aunt and uncle sold the house about 3 months later, but as my uncle was taking a box out of the house, he heard what sounded like a little boy's voice saying why. This spooked him very much. 6.5 years later, my uncle, aunt, and cousin now live happily in a ghost-free home. My brother died suddenly when I was 10 years old. He and I were very close. Now that I am older, I feel it was a gift I received. My story reflects back to that moment when I awoke the day he died. I had awoke to do the normal morning routine, getting ready for school. My brother's room was across the hall from mine, with a bathroom in between our doors. I saw him lying there, and a knowing came over me that he would not be there anymore. He was in high school and late for classes. I didn't want our mom to get upset over his not waking, but I could not even enter his room. The knowing nagged at me all day, and when I returned home from school, he had done all my chores, but one. I had to go out in the backyard to start a chore, and I was stuck with an image of him, and I could not breathe. Thoroughly terrified, I leaned against the house, trying to decide whether to run and tell my mom. When I heard the sirens moments later, I re-entered our home in tears. The ambulance was for my brother, who was killed about 2 miles from our home. I never asked how he died in the car accident. We moved very soon after that, and instead of being in a city, I was in the woods, secluded, and having to deal with the loss. I missed him, as he was always there for me, and he always had time for his little sister. His dog Abby became a confidant, and she always accompanied me whenever I went. One morning, I awoke again to get ready for school. Abby came downstairs with me to watch my routine, as she normally did. I walked into the bathroom that had an adjoining very large mudroom, approximately 15 by 20, the farthest wall. I had winter wear and summer coats hanging, as well as some other odds and ends. Abby was always quiet, but this day, she looked into the darkness of the mudroom and growled in a low voice, and her hackles on her neck rose. I looked to see what she was growling at, and I saw an orb brightening into a larger shape. I stared as it grew and saw the light forming into my brother's face. I turned on the light in the mudroom, and it did not go away, and Abby had disappeared from the room. I ran up the stairs and hid in my room. The second time I saw him, he was following me in the woods on one of my adventures. Again, Abby let me know someone was there, and she stood there in front of me, watching the shape. It was a dark apparition, but I knew it was my brother. I could feel his presence, and I was afraid, and ran again. I sat and thought about my fear and wanted for him to stop what he was doing. As a 10-year-old, this type of experience would terrify anyone. Third time again, I was walking in the woods and he came up behind me again. I turned to look, and again, I saw the dark apparition. I told him he was frightening me, and he had to stop, and I ran home crying. I never saw him again after that, though I believe he watches over me as a guardian. I feel his presence as he checks in on me, or if there's danger, I get a premonition beforehand. Thanks for reading. I went to stay with my grandmother when I was 14, along with my two sisters. We were just there for the summer. My Uncle Mike decided to take us camping at Kings Mountain, North Carolina. It is a well-known battlefield for the American Revolutionary War and possibly the Civil War. Not sure about the Civil War. He wanted to take us camping at the primitive sites. When I say primitive, I mean primitive. No running water or toilets that flush, just the outhouses that stink to high heaven. Well, anywho, Uncle Mike told us it was haunted, but I thought he was pulling our legs and was trying to scare us. Around 11:30 p.m. to 12:30 a.m., we had a good-sized campfire going, and then we heard what sounded like guns and cannons going off. They were in a distance at first, but then they started to move closer and closer. The closer they got to us, the more clearer we could hear them, and the closer we got, they could actually hear men yelling and screaming. Eventually, the cannons and guns quit going off, but you could still hear the men yelling and screaming, and you could hear them walking in the woods. You could hear the crackling of fallen tree limbs and decaying tree leaves underneath their feet. That's how clear you could hear them. I think that someone or a group of people should go out there and stake it out for a few nights and see if they can capture anything on film. It was a great experience for me, but my sisters were a little shaken up over the whole thing. I would just like to see some footage from it. I was only 14 when it happened and didn't have a camera then. You should really send some people down there to investigate it. It would be worthwhile. I've had a lot of different experiences with ghosts, from objects moving across the floor to being awakened with something dark holding me down. I was not about to move, and when I opened my eyes, I saw something that I could not explain. I tried to fight, but it didn't help. Then I had a warm feeling come over me, and my dead grandma was there, and I could move again. For the last 2 years, I found my oldest daughter talking to her friends upstairs in our home. I knew that there was something there when we bought the home, so I wasn't that surprised. Now, I find my youngest daughter talking to the air. The door to the girls' room opens by itself. There is also cold spots in the room, and occasionally the bathroom and basement. I've had something tap my head from behind in the middle of the night when everyone was asleep. It doesn't always bother me that they are there. I just get weirded out that my girls talk to them. They like to play tricks on people who come to visit us. One of them is having a good time with our babysitter. The other week, she was in the bathroom in the middle of the night, and it opened the door. She screamed and woke us all up. My 4-year-old went and told her that they won't hurt her. They just like to come and talk and play. When the babysitter asked my daughter who won't hurt her, she told her, "You know, the boy, the girl, and the man." I asked my daughter where they were, and she said that they were in her room. That's when I called a psychic. I never told anyone that she said there were 3. The psychic told me that my family is a gift and that my daughter has it stronger than the rest of us, that they come to visit her because she notices them. I'm not sure who they are yet, but we are working on that. My 4-year-old told me that the little girl floats, like in the water she died in. Also, that she is sad because her mommy is now dying because she is so sad that the little girl died. I also have pictures of my daughter that I found that seem to have some weird things in them, like something moving across them. I will send them soon. If you have any suggestions on how we can find out who they are, I will take what I can get. My daughter doesn't always want to talk about them. She always says, "Not now, mommy, maybe later." whenever I asked her who they are and what their names are. It's not that interesting of a story, but it's nice to tell someone. Thank you for your time. This is a weird story that really doesn't have anything scary in it, but I believe that my eldest daughter might have had a ghost as a friend when she was 3. It all started when my daughter started to tell my wife and I about an imaginary friend that she had. This friend was named Pito, and the friend was female. My wife and I just shrugged it off as a passing thing, because all kids at one time or another have imaginary friends, especially when they didn't have any brothers or sisters, right? We thought it was cute and didn't think too much about it. That is, until my daughter started telling us more about Pito. She said that Pito was 12 and that she had been in jail a lot of times. Pito had apparently killed her parents. This really freaked us out, that she would be sitting there and relaying the information from someone or something next to her. I understand that kids have a wild imagination, but for my 3-year-old daughter to be talking about murder and jail and such things were unsettling. From that point on, we told our daughter that Pito was not welcome anywhere near our house or our family. Our daughter put up a good fight, but after stating the same thing over and over to her, one day, out of the blue, we never heard anything about Pito again. To this day, I've questioned my daughter, who is now 7, about Pito. She tells me that she doesn't remember anything about a Pito. Well, that's my story. Please let me know what you think. Was Pito a figment of my daughter's imagination, or did my daughter have a ghostly visitor? Thanks for reading. I am only a young girl, going into 6th grade, and turning 12 on September 17th, 2001, but I've had experiences too. I live in New York, in Long Island to be more exact. Anyway, my very first encounter is when I'm in my bathroom, by my room. I'm just sitting there, minding my own business, when all of a sudden, I look at the wall and there is a figure there. It was just the outline of someone small, about 5, 6, or 7 years old. I saw the outlines of arms, a head, ears, but the bottom was missing. I couldn't speak. Then I blinked, and it was gone. My second experience was when I was in my room. I was trying to get some sleep, and when I looked at my turned-off TV, I see a teenage boy there. He is light-skinned, has dark hair, has freckles I think, a dark t-shirt, and a red thing on it. Some kind of symbol. He has some dark blue jeans on. He's just walking behind my bed. I slowly go out of bed and stand out of my door. I come back in. He is gone. My third experience is the scariest one yet. I'm lying in my bed. All of a sudden, I feel something press my chest for 1 second. My stomach jumped. It is very late. I'm feeling very tense. Then I wait for a minute. It happens again. I make a cross with my fingers, and I soon fall asleep. My room used to be my grandmother's old room. She passed away in 1998. Now I sleep there. Strange. Every second of my life, I sense someone with me, or in my house anyway. It is scary, especially in my room at night. But I believe that it is just my guardian angel, or my grandma, or relatives with me protecting me. But sometimes, I fear the presence is not them. Hi, I just wanted to share with you some of the many experiences that I've had. Here's the first one that really scared me. I'm a faithful Tool fan, so when they are coming in concert, me and my best friend made it a point that we were going regardless of the circumstances. Well, the night of the concert, there was a bit of electricity in the air, like there was something odd and mist, but we went anyways, enjoying our time and even screaming until we had no voices left. Well, at that time, I was living with my grandparents, and I came home and walked by my grandmother's bedroom door, which was across my room, and told her that I was home. Well, she came in my room with a confused look on her face and said, "Where did you go?" I looked at her and kinda laughed and said, "The Tool concert, remember?" and she said no. After that, where did you go? I looked at her and I said, Mom, I just got home from the concert. I came straight home afterwards. She shook her head and said, No, you came home about a half hour ago and said, Mom, I am home. And you sat on the end of the bed and told me that you had a good time and you were going to bed. Then you got up and went to your room and shut the door. Then I noticed that my bedroom door was in fact shut, even though I never shut the door, and my grandparents were totally against shut doors unless you were going to sleep. That made the hair on my neck stand straight on end, and I opened the door and started looking around my room. I told her, Do you think that someone came in? And she said, No, it was you. I looked right at you. I even talked to you. I questioned her to see if she was dreaming, but she said that she was wide awake. It was about that time that the closet doors began to shake as though someone was behind them. They are on tracks, so they slide back and forth, and they are pretty heavy. Even though I had just checked the closet to see if there was anyone in there. Well, needless to say, I freaked out and was close to tears, so I told my grandma that she was scaring me and I was going to sleep in the back bedroom. I don't know, it just feels safer. Well, as I walked out of the room with my things to sleep in the back, the bedroom door slammed behind me. I moved back into my grandmother's house not too long ago, and it wasted no time in letting me know that it didn't want me here. I say it because I know that it is the same damn ghost that hates me. Well, the first night that I slept there, after moving back in, I drifted off to sleep when I felt something walking on my bed. It was like a cat walking, and at first, I thought that it was my cat, but then I realized that my cat was lying right next to me. As I turned to look at whatever it was that was walking, I realized that I couldn't move. It felt like someone was holding my arms and my legs down. As I tried to scream, I realized that I couldn't scream at all. Nothing came out when I screamed. The only sound was a faint moan, but I could move my head around without problem. Well, all of a sudden, a light began to frantically jump on me. It looked like a very fast flashlight, and it would fly up and then down on my skin, and when it did, it felt like I was being scratched, even though there were no marks. I would have thought that it was just an old hack, but I realized that when the light moved, my cat followed it with his eyes, and he didn't seem to be able to move either. Well, as suddenly as it started, it stopped and flew under the bed, and immediately I could move again. Well, all has been well. My grandparents put up a door in the kitchen, and I blessed the back of the house. And the night before last, my grandma came into my room and asked if I was okay. I was like, yeah, why? And she said that she heard me frantically banging on the back door. I told her that I hadn't left my bed, and I was watching something on TV and hadn't heard anything. Just as I said that, I heard the front door open very loudly. When I asked her what the noise was, she said that she hadn't heard anything and went back to bed. About a half an hour later, she came back into the room to ask me what was wrong. I told her nothing. I was still in the same spot that I was in the last time she came and checked. She said that she heard something in the living room with my voice saying, Mom, please help me. I'm sure that plenty more will happen. There has been things that scurry about and such, but this has been long enough. Thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate your readership. Here's my story. Some friends of mine had a house in 1994 in college. They told me about all kinds of strange things. One time, they were downstairs, and there was a loud pounding going through the whole house for about 3 minutes. Another time, one roommate thought he heard another in the next room arguing with someone. No one was in the room. A few times, they would leave and come back, and all the doors were open. I only lived there for one summer and had only one thing happen to me. I was in my room alone and just got this creepy feeling. After a while, it got worse until I had to get out of the house. I was petrified. I had to leave. The worst thing, though, happened at the end. We had all left for home for 2 weeks, but one guy stayed. He was alone in the house for about 2 weeks. He was acting weird for a few days after we got back. At this time, We had all moved out, and he was the only one there. I caught him outside praying once in the backyard. A few days later, he killed himself. He was in probably the worst room in the house. We found a note that was mostly illegible. I just remember one line: God is God, you're not God. I actually haven't thought about this place in a while, but we were talking about it the other day. I just realized today that our friend died this week 7 years ago. Have you ever heard of something like this? Guys, I've got some drama to unveil to you guys. So, there was this dramatic encounter I had with this spoon, and he was like, dude, why don't you subscribe to me? And I was like, oh, I can't. It's because I'm a spoon. I can't watch your content. I don't have eyes to watch spoons. So, we went out to the supermarket, we bought this spoon an eye, and there he goes. Now a spoon is finally able to watch my channel, subscribe, and be the best spoon that it could possibly be, and enjoy horror narrations. Hooray for that spoon, guys, right? Don't even ask. I'm sober. There's nothing wrong with me. At least I don't think so. I think, what I'm saying is completely coherent, at least in my head. But obviously to you guys, it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, guys, if you're new to the channel and you're just coming across this weird outro, just know it's kind of a regular thing I do for my subscriber base and for anybody who's interested in these things. But seriously, guys, I don't want to talk anymore because I think I stupefied myself even more than I should have. But with that, hope you guys enjoyed the comments. I mean, I'll enjoy the comments. I messed up what I was going to say. I'm not going to edit that out. Anyway, guys, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to end this video and say good night, good morning. Hope you subscribe, hope you comment, hope you, like and share this video. We're getting close to 10K, and I say that all the time, but, whatever. It doesn't matter because this is my channel, and what we do on our channel is we make no sense. Okay, Phantom, are you going to stop being a phantom, or are you just going to let them listen to whatever they want? Just leave, let them do what they want, and just leave and stop talking. Okay, good night, good morning. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.